thanks to Emma and everyone for the invite to today. So what I'm going to do is a bit of an overview of our PhD students and the use of digital technology. So sometimes we're approached by companies and they say they've got this wonderful gait technology that's going to stop freezing and it's the best thing since sliced bread. Can you validate it, Jill? So we look at different technologies and we're just going to give a bit of an overview of some of the technologies and companies that I'm working with. So first one's V-Ride. So this is using Swift. Any cyclists in here? Come on, used Swift before? Yep, so someone's saying yes, yes. So we're trying to look at Swift for people with Parkinson's disease and stroke. So this is one of our PhD students, Carolyn's looking at this. So it's just started testing last week with it. So we're looking at stroke survivors and people with Parkinson's. Is using Swift, so a virtual technology, better than using cycling alone with it? So we know with cycling it's going to have aerobic benefit. Is this more beneficial because we've got a Swift platform, so it's more interactive, it's more engaging, more motivating? Can we see any difference with it? So we're running a quick pilot study to see actually what are the challenges with using Swift. Do people like using Swift? Do they not like using Swift with it? So you've got basically, you can have a bike and a turbo trainer, and then you just need your laptop or a smart screen in front of you. So what you would get is a visual platform like this with Swift. So you're engaged in a world of Swift riders. So you can either compete with it, so you can do it individually, you can do it as team rides with it. So Carolyn, who's a PhD student, is a very keen cyclist, so she knows this to depth, and Tom, one of the other co-supervisors. So they're typically on this leaderboard you see on the side as well. So we're getting some interesting results straight away from it. So Swift's very commercial. I think it's £20 a month to use, so it's freely available for everyone. But in clinical groups, is this the best to use? We don't know yet, so that's what we try and answer with it. So for instance, we had a stroke survivor on the other day. He was doing the normal cycling, so no Swift, no screen. He was like, oh, it's all right, this, yeah, it's all right. Put him on Swift, he was like, whoa, this is amazing. I can cycle, I can compete. So we monitor the heart rate as well. We just want to moderate intensity. And as he was starting to overtake, and you could see, we had to say, can you just calm down? We need to take back. No, I can't, because I'm going to beat him, and I'm going to beat him. I'm like, no, you need to calm it down. We need to keep that heart rate down. And so that was one of the negatives, that he didn't like that. And then we had a guy with Parkinson's, again this week. One couldn't get on the bike because the bike frame was too big. Another one was like, I don't like this, I feel sick with it. Virtual reality, even though it's not a virtual reality headset, it's just a screen in front. So we're getting quite differences in it, and it's that competitive edge. If we just said to a stroke survivor, he's a bike, he's a turbo trainer, we'll put this in the house, off you go, or someone with Parkinson's, we don't really know its effect yet. So we're running a small pilot study with him in the lab. So they'll come in the lab, they have the two scenarios, so just normal cycling for 10 minutes, moderate intensity versus Swift with it. And then we're looking at usability for both groups as well, proof of concept to design a bigger acceptability, feasibility study with it. Interestingly, one of our participants said, have you heard of SWAP? And we were like, what? What is that? And it's a Swift version for Parkinson's disease. So this gentleman's got Parkinson's disease, and it's an online SWAP is the version of Swift that they use. Everyone on that group has got Parkinson's disease, so they have rides together, which was quite interesting, and we never knew anything existed with it. So we're looking into that as well. Do we see any differences with it? Our next one, so is a whistle stop for this, is looking at visual cognitive training. This is Julia, one of our PhD students who's finished and is a postdoc with us now. So this was a funded project by Synaptic. So this is a spin-off of Nike's Toby Pro glasses. So a lot of these projects have always had a sports influence first, and then they try to apply it to clinical groups. So that's what we're interested to see. Does this actually one size fit all? We see it with kind of Garmin's, Fitbits, Apple Watches as well. So Synaptic is used to look at visual cognitive training. So we know in Parkinson's, vision and cognition are both problematic. We then thought, well, actually, how do we train them together? So there is different evidence. You would normally use your motor training, would be a traditional physiotherapy, physical activity, gait training, balance training. You're then moving into the exogame kind of scenario. So what Dawn had mentioned earlier around virtual reality, augmented reality, exogames, because you've got that dual tasking element. So we're kind of touching on that visual cognitive training. And then having both this vision and cognition embedded together in these glasses, where you have so they look like a pair of swimming goggles, essentially, is the best way to describe them. You wear them when you're doing the training. So this is actually Julia's dad is a nice model. He doesn't have Parkinson's. This is the model in this photo. So we'd be using visual cognitive training compared to normal pen paper based vision and cognition training. So the participants would come into the lab. First of all, we would take gait balance metrics with them cognitive outcomes as well. We then randomise them into 2 groups. So 20 got the visual cognitive training in the home. So Julia went and visited in the home twice a week. So they loved having a physiotherapist go in. This was post-COVID as well, so they thought this was the best thing since sliced bread. We didn't struggle with recruitment, surprisingly, with it. And then we had the non-technical group as well, so that was pen, paper-based activity. So they'd be catching balls as well for more the motor training, but with the glasses on, the different lenses would have them, so it would be slightly distorted, the image. So when they were catching the ball, they really had to work more on the proprioception skills as opposed to the visual ones as well. So as with technology, we do see differences in results. So what was quite interesting with this project is we did get quite a mix in what we found with this. So we found significant improvements in the visual cognitive group, so the synaptic one, in terms of our sway metrics, in particular the medial lateral, so your side-to-side sway. Both groups improved overall on the mini BEST test, executive function and UPDRS, where we found the pen paper group, they actually had more significant improvements in falls efficacy and quality of life with it. So when we did some focus groups at the end and interviews with them, we were quite interested to see, and we got quite mixed results. The more digital savvy ones said, oh yeah, I would actually prefer to use the synaptic. I could see the improvement straight away. I liked the fact that I was training on the app and I would be getting scores as opposed to the pen and paper. I would just put that down and forget about it. Other ones were saying, actually, the pen and paper, that's what I prefer to use. I couldn't get away with the technology, or I was feeling a bit distorted, a bit sick with it as well. What's quite interesting is obviously this was done in the home environment. If we let people free rein with Parkinson's disease in a home environment with these goggles, I personally think it could be potentially disastrous, because some of them do get addicted to it, and they'll change the lenses, so all of a sudden they'll be going from catching the ball with one leg, then they'll be trying to do 20 sit to stands with it. And that's what we've got to look at, is the safety element with it. So a lot of the physios on the team said this is going to be quite hard for the safety aspect for it. Our next project is Danu. So this is an industry-based project. So Danu is a company based in Ireland. So it's a wearable tech. So it looks like just a normal sock. So this has changed. It used to look more like a football sock. What's got in the insole is embedded sensors. So it's a pressure sensor effectively with it. We've then got an IMU on the shin in the inside here. So little sensors clipped into the sock. And this is what Gabby's looking at, is validating this sensor for people with Parkinson's disease in the lab. So we've got our 3D motion capture Vicon system. We're looking at it with 2-minute walk and test, timed up and go, in a series of balance tests as well. So this is a very new project. We did validate this originally in runners. At the start of this, 4 years ago, it was quite different, the technology. I done a lot of testing with Rachel, our student. The sensors would be flying off. The runners the gait metrics would be all over. So we have worked a lot with that in terms of the gait metrics, and they are reliable. So now we're trying to see, can this translate into clinical practice? So a lot of these technologies, they're either commercially available or the small startup companies that have maybe had a sports influence first, and now we're trying to move into clinical practice. So we're seeing, does that work? And then a quick one to finish off. So this is a co-design project. So this is a flip side of it. So this is where we've co-designed with Emma, and Parkinson's UK funded this project. So using Koku, which Emma's mentioned before. So we co-designed with people with Parkinson's, the Koku app. So how can we make this Parkinson's specific? So we know it works in older adults, but does this work with people with Parkinson's who have balance problems, who have gait problems, who are high risks of falls? So we co-designed with the developers and clinicians. What did they want to see and include? big movements. The physios were hell-bent on this. They've got to be big when they're doing the movements. So you can do sit to stands and say, I've done 10 of them, but that's the movement pattern with them. We need them to be big. So a big movement was key with it. So this is now included in the Parkinson's version. So they do this for 3 to 5 minutes, and they get Dave's lovely accent on top of their overlay, what Emma played before. A big thing they wanted as well with incentives and to see progress with this, and progress was a big part. So you can see on the screenshots here, you can now tally on how many reps you've done, how long it took you to do the reps. There's a different exercise function, which Emma mentioned before. You can add that on now. So before, where in the original version, you would just have, this is how many exercises you've done for your day, your 3 sets. Now, if you do additional exercises, it accounts for that as well. The clinicians, one of our clinicians, Richard, was really, he wanted hypertension mentioned in the device. We had to be careful with the wording, as Emma will confirm with this, because then it turns into a medical device. So again, if you're feeling dizzy when you're doing the exercises, please contact a medical practitioner. And just quickly, briefly, we did find improvements. So very short, over 4 weeks in the home, they used Koku. They found significant improvements in balance and in the timed up and go as well, which was quite interesting. But the big thing was the usability, system usability. Found it easy to use. They like using it. You use it with the grandkids as well. So that was quite interesting. I think because we have that core design element from the start, we see it different to the other 3, where we have been very much commercial, and we're still kind of guessing with those, I suppose, with it. And that's it. Time's up. Thank you.